welcome back to our final episode, which takes us along the journey of where sexuality can take us and the power each of us holds to create human life. Let's begin with the different ways you can have a baby. First, there's natural sex. Natural sex is the most common way of becoming pregnant, and it also leads to the daunting statistic that about 50% of pregnancies in the US are unplanned. This is usually due to the failure to attempt to use contraception, which is where I will refer you to our third episode. There's also artificial insemination, which can mean one of three things. You can use the mother's egg and the father's sperm, the mother's egg and a donor sperm, or you can use the egg and sperm of the parents with a surrogate mother. Briefly, a surrogate mother is one who bears the child on behalf of another woman and can be chosen as an option by the parents for a multitude of reasons. People of same-sex couples can also use a surrogate with their respective donor. Other than that, we also have in vitro fertilization, or IVF. Like surrogacy, IVF is used for a multitude of reasons, including blocked or damaged fallopian tubes, decreased sperm or egg count, women who have had their fallopian tubes removed, individuals with a genetic disorder, or unexplained infertility. So how does the fetus develop in the womb? You only need one sperm cell and one egg cell to become pregnant. Interestingly, there are certain biological characteristics that prevent other types of sperm from fertilizing an egg, which is why you don't often see animals crossbreeding with each other. Not that this is your main concern. Just cool. I'm sure we've all heard this, but if you haven't, the fetal development is divided into 3 trimesters. Let's start with the first trimester. Contraception occurs roughly 2 weeks after your last period, which is why you see certain claims on pregnancy tests. During the 3rd week is when the fertilization occurs, and the sperm and egg unite in the fallopian tubes. If the fertilized egg splits or more than one egg is fertilized, you get identical or fraternal twins, respectively. As the fertilized egg travels down the fallopian tubes toward the uterus, it begins to divide to form the morula, or a cluster of cells resembling a raspberry. The 4th week is when implantation occurs, and when this rapidly dividing ball of cells, now called the blastocyst, begins to burrow in the uterine lining. Of the blastocyst, the inner group of cells is called the embryo, and the outer group of cells will become the placenta, which will later provide oxygen and nutrients to the growing embryo. When we reach the 5th week, hormones are released to signal to your body to stop releasing eggs and produce more estrogen and progesterone, which subsequently stop your period. This also fuels the growth of the placenta. At this point, the embryo is made of 3 layers, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. The ectoderm will become the baby's outermost layer of skin, central and peripheral nervous system, eyes, and inner ears. The mesoderm will form the baby's heart, provide foundation for the baby's bones, kidneys, and much of the reproductive system. The endoderm will give rise to the baby's lungs and intestines. The 6th week, an especially notable week for some, especially those who can't have babies, is when the neural tube closes. This prompts the development of the baby's brain and spinal cord, as well as the heart and other organs. Small bumps, which will become the baby's arms, begin to form, and the body takes on a C-shaped curve. At week 7, the baby's brain and face are growing. The lower limbs begin to sprout as well, and the arm sprouts become little flaps. At the 8th week of pregnancy, the baby's nose and upper lip forms, and the fingers begin to form. It is important to note that at this point, the baby is about ½ an inch long, or half the diameter of a quarter. At the 9th week of pregnancy, structures continue to form, including the arms, elbows, toes, and eyelids. At this point, the baby is the diameter of a penny. By the end of week 11, the baby's head has become more round, toes and fingers lose their webbing, the umbilical cord becomes visible, the eyes become widely separated, and red blood cells begin to form in the liver. This is also the point when external genitalia begin to form. At this point, the baby is about 2 inches long and is officially described as a fetus. The final week of the first trimester is week 12, or 10 weeks after conception. At this point, the baby's fingernails are formed, the face takes on a more developed profile, and the baby is about 2.5 inches long. The second trimester is when things become a little bit more real. At week 13, your baby starts making and releasing urine. At this point, bones begin to harden and the baby's skin is thin and transparent. At week 14 is when the baby's sex becomes apparent and when red blood cells start forming in the spleen. Week 15 marks more bone development as well as a forming scalp pattern. The 16th week is when the baby's head becomes erect, their eyes can slowly move, and the ears are almost in the final position. At this point, the baby is 4.5 inches long. By the end of the 18th week, the toenails have formed, the fetus becomes more active and starts pumping 100 pints of blood each day, and the baby might begin to hear. The eyes begin to face forward, and the baby's digestive system has started working. At week 20, you've reached the halfway point. You may also be able to feel the baby's movements, and the baby takes on regular sleep and wake patterns. At week 22, the eyebrows and hair become visible. At week 23, the baby has rapid eye movements, might begin hiccuping, and the fingerprints and footprints form. At week 25, the baby is able to respond to familiar sounds, including your voice, and it spends most of its time in REM sleep. By the end of the 27th week, or the end of the second trimester, the baby's lungs are developing and the baby's nervous system is continuing to mature. The third and last trimester is marked by continued development and is when your baby will prepare for delivery. At week 28, the baby's eyelids can be opened partially and the central nervous system can control body temperature and direct rhythmic breathing movements. At this point, the baby is about 10 inches long. By the end of week 30, the baby can kick and stretch, and it is also when the baby's eyes open wide and the hair continues to grow, if your baby has any. The red blood cells also form in the baby's bone marrow. The next 3 weeks are marked by major development. In week 31, your baby rapidly starts growing weight and most of the development has finished. At week 32, the baby can practice breathing and the toenails are visible. At week 33, the baby is able to detect light and the bones begin to harden. By the end of week 36, the fingernails have reached the end of the baby's fingertips, the skin is becoming pink and smooth, and the baby begins to take up most of the amniotic sac. The last 4 weeks of the pregnancy is when everything begins to fall into place. The baby's head may begin to descend into the pelvis, the baby's chest is becoming more prominent, and the baby's body continues to develop fat to keep warm after birth. At week 40, the due date is reached, and it is time for delivery. 2 of the most common ways to give birth are through vaginal delivery or cesarean section, or C-section. During the vaginal birthing process, women can request an epidural, which is the most popular method of pain relief during labor. More than 50% of women that give birth in hospitals choose to use an epidural. The epidural blocks the nerve impulses from traveling to the lower spinal segments, which leads to decreased sensation in the lower half of the body, basically numbing it. Epidurals are a class of drug known as local anesthetic and are often delivered with a combination of opioids or narcotics such as fentanyl or sufentanil. To administer the epidural, a needle is inserted into the spinal cord and lower back after the injection area is numbed with a local anesthetic. With anything comes pros and cons, and an epidural allows reduced discomfort and allows you to rest if the labor process becomes prolonged. With the epidural, your blood pressure may suddenly drop, you may experience a severe headache because of leaking spinal fluid, and pushing may become more difficult, leading to a cesarean section. Cesarean section births are often used when complications arise during the delivery process. Through this process, the baby is delivered through an incision made in the mother's abdomen and uterus. Common reasons for a C-section delivery include multiple babies, previous C-section, when the baby is breech, bottom first, or when transverse, sideways, or when the placenta is low in the uterus and covers the cervix. There are also many types of natural births, including hypnosis, the Lamaze method, which includes controlled breathing, massage, and concentration, water delivery, which involves a woman giving birth in a tub of water to help alleviate discomfort and pressure and to help the baby enter the world with less of a dramatic change. Many people who become pregnant also may choose to work with a midwife, which is the healthcare professional who cares for mothers and newborns around childbirth. So where does all of this leave us? With all of the information presented in these videos, the choice is up to you. One bit of good news is teen pregnancy rates are down, and about 19 births for every 1,000 females between 15 and 19 in 2017. But it does not negate the fact that 50% of pregnancies are still unplanned. Family can be a beautiful thing, and it is always our own responsibility as an individual to take precautions in protecting ourselves from infections, being open and honest with our partner, know what we want, and to act accordingly. And with that, I bid you farewell. Enjoy.